You know, we've got a real interesting situation going on here with this big redwood tree. Notice there's a big void over in that area. I started looking at it. I don't know if you can see it from here, especially with this wide angle lens, but right up and through there I can see where the bark is peeling off. Well, I got down in here and I looked at it a little bit closer. Let me show you what I'm finding here. It's quite unusual, and I'm trying to figure out what caused this. But look at this. This whole big section of bark is peeled off all the way up in a spiral. And if you look up through there, you can see that the spiral starts, actually I think it started at the top and it worked its way down, because you can see where there's a lot of active tissue trying to close up this crack. I'm going to call it a crack. I'm not exactly sure what it is and what caused it. I've got a few ideas, but I'm only guessing. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to go up there and do an inspection. Part of the reason I'm doing this is the client wants to do some landscaping. They want to put a deck underneath this tree, but they want to know if this tree is safe. And I can see some marks down here where they're kind of plotting out an area, but I really don't know if it's safe. You know, with that significant of an opening or a crack, it may be decayed, it may be structurally unsound, and the only way to tell is to go up there and probe it. And I went over in the neighbor's yard, and it goes, oh, most of the way up in the tree. So what happened? Well, the top of the tree is a little bit wider than it should be. I'm not sure if the tree has been topped in the past. I'll find out. If it was topped in the past, that would be a reason why it's grown wider, because typically a single leader tree like a redwood grows really tall and narrow and it has a very nice conical shape. But when you take the top off, it'll oftentimes create a widening of all the branches up to the top. And if that happens and we have a really unusual wind event, let's say we had like a little mini dust devil or a small tornado or something that came in here, with all that weight on the top of the tree, could it have possibly created a big twist that created a crack all the way down? That's a possibility. Maybe it was hit by lightning. Not likely. I'm about 30 feet up in the tree now, and what I'm observing here in this interesting crack is it is completely covered with bark. So whatever's going on still has bark in the surface. And if it was a big section of wood that would have been taken out, I would have expected there to be a void all the way up here. So this is quite intriguing, which means that the wood underneath this is fairly sound. I'm not seeing any decay. There's an area down here where it looks like something's been stripped off. Maybe the squirrels have been working on it, but even that wood looks fairly sound. And you can see that the spiral from this point continues to go all the way down the trunk. It's like all the fibers of this tree are growing in a twist. If you look at the shape of the bark, you know, it's usually the bark goes straight up and down, but in this case the bark is rotating. So I think what we've got is some sort of a natural irregularity in the way that the tree was growing. I see another loosening of the bark over on this side. I don't know what that is. I'll check that out when I get up a little bit higher. There's a squirrel's nest over there. They're notorious for pulling the bark off and making nest material out of it. Okay, I'm up at about 40 feet, and I want you to take notice that there are 3 secondary hot wires. They're uninsulated wires, and the foliage is touching those wires, which makes the possibility of this tree being hot very real. We've got the primaries right here, so I'm almost at the level of the highest voltage lines, and we've still got quite a ways to go. And as you can see, this spiraling is continuing to twist all the way around the tree. I got to an area right here where there's a little bit of weeping, but interestingly, you know, I expected there to be a void. I thought there would be an area where a chunk of wood had come out for some reason that would have caused this this new growth to be trying to encapsulate a wound of some sort. And as you can see, it goes all the way down and it spirals all the way around. But once again, take notice of the way that the bark is growing down here. And it's kind of interesting, up there it pretty much straightens out again. So the whole bottom of the trunk, all the way down, the bark spirals. Once in a while you see a tree that has that sort of a, I guess you can call it a defect, but it's an anomaly that I don't understand what causes it. I've asked many people and I've never gotten a good answer from that. But why this section of wood has still got me perplexed. I was hoping to see something, make some sort of a discovery up here. At the very least, we're trying to tell the client whether we believe this tree is structurally sound. And so far I haven't seen anything that really scares me. All right, now I'm up above the power lines, and you can see where the power company has been stripping all the branches off of this tree all the way up. And I get to a point where the active cambium tissue is actually closing up on it. It's actually growing closer and closer. And you can see kind of where this whole thing started. You can see a bulge that goes beyond it, and I'm going to go up quite a ways past this and see what's going on up there. But it looks like it started from here. I can still see bark inside this wound, and I have not been able to find any voids. I'm surprised. I really thought that there would have been a section of wood that was pulled out of the tree, but this is an odd one to me. I really don't know what to think of this. Okay, I'm up above the pole. I'm probably at about 60 feet or so. And what I'm noticing here is the top of this crack. And what really has me kind of wondering is this whole side of the tree has been cleared out of all of its branches because of those power lines, those high voltage power lines right there. And I'm wondering if at one time in the past, one of these branches may have spurred on some kind of an electrical short that instigated this crack. I don't know. It could have been, you know, it could have been a high voltage line induced electric shock that caused a spiral crack that went all the way to the ground. Now I'm just guessing, I'm just surmising, but the location of the beginning of this crack and the association with the wires has me thinking that I'll bet it has something to do with the power. I have seen circumstances where trees have actually caught fire. Okay, now I'm about 20 feet above the power lines, and I'm probably 70 feet or more off the ground. And I've encountered yet another one of these strange separation cracks. And it seems to begin right here about 5 or 6 feet below my feet. And in some areas, it opens up 6-8 inches wide, but it's still bark underneath. And I cannot find any areas that seem to be too weak. I'll probe that one right there. I'm wondering if there's any insect activity, carpenter ants or anything that might be getting in this area up here, which may make the top of this tree weak. And right now I'm about 25 feet from the very tip top of this tree. I've been using my probe. I've got a metal probe, and I cannot find any areas of opening, of any weakness that shows that it's decayed. Now it's possible it may get worse up and through here, so I'm going to keep venturing up. You know, this is an interesting job for me because I can honestly say in all my years I've never seen anything quite like this. I have seen circumstances where lightning has hit a tree and pulled a chunk out, or a top blew out in a big storm and maybe ripped all the way down, you know, the fibers of the wood. But this almost feels natural. I was thinking that it might have been associated with the power lines, but because I see it up here as well, I think I'm going to have to change my my guess here to think that it's back to something within this particular tree. Something is very unusual about the way this tree is growing. It happens. Okay, I'm at about 80 feet now, and I'm at the secondary opening, and I came across something that's kind of interesting. There's a couple of old cuts here where some branches were pruned off a long time ago, and judging by the thickness of the callus tissue that's growing around here, I'm going to say that this happened probably 15 or 20 years ago. I sure wish I could have seen what this looked like when it was fresh. Now there's another big branch cut off in that area. So far it all feels relatively sound. I've been probing it with a steel probe. And there's an area where it looks like we might have a little bit of insect activity in there. So far I can't say I see anything that really scares me. There is a possibility that in a big windstorm this may be weaker than a normal top because of the twisting that's going on. You know, redwood trees blow their tops out naturally in big windstorms. It's a frequent occurrence. And if there's any kind of a weakness in here and we get one of those unusual windstorms, you never know what's going to happen. So I'm going to keep going up and see if I can see anything else going on up there. I'm getting closer and closer to the very tip top of this tree. Okay, I'm pretty high up now, and I'm still following this void here. I did find a spot where the bark is starting to peel back, but it's still solid underneath. I see a hole there and a little bit of hole up there. There might be a little bit of insect activity up here, and it appears that the twisting is continuing all the way up to the top. It's developing a secondary top over there, which is not a good thing. Let me carry on, get up a little bit higher, see if I can see what else is going on. Okay, I'm at about 90 feet up, and you can see that we've got some drying out going on here, a little bit of insect activity, possibly termites, possibly carpenter ants. I don't see any active insects, but I do see a lot of exit holes, and the bark is starting to peel off. As we get up a little bit higher, you can see that more is happening up here, and there is some weeping, some old weeping, the yellow pitch coming off of the tree. Then we go up a little bit higher, and you can see that it's twisting up around over that side. And I get about, I don't know, another 10-15 feet to the very top. Okay, I'm now about 100 feet off the ground, and we are starting to see some defect here where the bark has peeled off, and there's a lot more insect exit wounds I did pull up, look at that. You can see active insect frass pouring out of there. That means that there is some active insect activity in there. Like I said, it's either termites or carpenter ants, but I don't see any activity of anything coming out, which doesn't surprise me, but there is a weakness right here at the top of the tree. But on the positive side, there's not very much above it. I mean, there's only about 10 feet of top up there. It narrows down really quickly. At this point, it's about 10 inches around and 6 inches, and then it goes to 4 inches. And then there's the very tip top up there. I don't even know if you can see it. So the weakness right here doesn't have a whole lot of weight above it. It's kind of a tough call because you got a lot of active tissue going on here that's building up some strength around this weakness. But if it had 25 or 30 feet of top, then I would say definitely bring it down. But then that creates issues with topping and how the tree is going to re-sprout after that. This is a funny one. This is it's a weakness that the tree will probably tolerate for a long time. As long as you've got enough active tissue absorbing this weakness, I think it'll be okay. You know, I'm not going to write a report and say that this tree is absolutely safe, because there are some defects. But I don't see anything that scares me horribly either. This is a secondary top, but it's growing off the side here. So allowing this to get really tall would probably be a mistake. I wish I had a really good answer for them. All I can do in evaluating a tree is identify the hazards and look for defects. I found one area that is troubling, which is where I just talked about, and the rest of it seems relatively sound. It's an anomaly, and it's an interesting something impacted the tree that caused this to happen, and so far I don't know what it is. I've been trying to make some guesses as I've been going, and quite often when I get into a situation like this, the problem will reveal itself. There'll be, you know, something you say, aha, there'll be an aha moment. Well, in this case, you know, it goes up and around and stops right there, and from there up it's pretty strong. So you've got some callus tissue building up that's actually trying to strengthen this weakness, and you've got a lot of active growth around this. If this was on the ground, I would say don't worry about it at all. You know, from this point up, I'd say it's not good, but the tree's probably not going to fall down as a result of this. But way up high, you know, if you get a real crazy windstorm, this could be a weakness right here. So what should you do?